That was a scene from a town hall earlier tonight with Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton. The mood is indicative of what we're seeing at town halls all across the country. Joining me now, Michael Moore, activist, Academy Award-winning filmmaker, muckraker, troublemaker. Let me ask you the first question. I said it's working. Is it working?
No.
It's working.
I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime. And of course, I go back to the anti-Vietnam War days, my youth. This is an incredible, incredible turnout. You just said the word Arkansas. That footage, it's back up on the screen right now. Arkansas. This is going on, 2 days after the Women's March, 2,000 people in the state capitol in Salt Lake City in Utah. This is the most massive, incredible, really unorganized, because there was no time, there was only a few of us who thought what would happen on Election Day. So everybody else thought Hillary was going to win, and this was, you know, everything's going to be okay. So everybody has had to come outside the bubble, organize, and get busy. And whatever despair people felt on November 9th is gone. The despair is gone. I mean, there's a lot of justifiable fear.
Yeah.
But people are active and mobilized. There's so many things going on in the internet, so many, and people, when I was on the stage of the Women's March and I asked the crowd, how many of you are at your first demonstration? I'd say 80% raised their hand. This is a first time, and I'm telling you folks, those of you who are younger, this hasn't happened since 1970. You'd have to go back that far. You have to go back before Kent State, where you saw crowds like this. And even then, you didn't see middle class. You didn't see grandmas.
Right.
You didn't see. You see everything at this. It's just the most amazing thing.
It is striking. I mean, it's very striking too to hear that sort of there's this kind of terminology, the paid protesters, yada yada. But then you look at the, you know, it's just Arkansas voters basically. I mean, obviously, we shouldn't fool ourselves. They have the certain politics they have, I think, by and large.
Right. Yeah.
But it's not. You know, these are the people that live and work in Fayetteville or wherever.
Yeah, you could see just watching the footage there that nobody's being paid. They are there because they love this country. And they're coming out, and you know what? You're just seeing really the first week of these town halls.
That's what's crazy to me. I mean, when you look at, you know, we were going back and looking at footage. We were talking about this today. The big town hall thing was August in 2009, because that was the August recess, and that's when those town halls happened. People getting yelled at, and there was a bill that was about to be passed, and the mobilization. This is only a month in, right? So this is way...
No, this makes the Tea Party look like preschool. I mean, seriously. And when you had on Congressman Sanford from South Carolina last night, or two nights ago, and he had to listen to that for 3 hours, and you said to him, you know, what do you think? And he says, well, I'm paraphrasing, you know, the Obamacare people have sort of won. You know, they're going to get their everything's going to be, and I was like, I'm sitting here watching your show, and I'm going, whoa. He just admitted.
It was a big concession. He basically said, you've already won on a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And you can see this, in terms of where the rubber hits the road on this, you can see they're moving the line on what they think they can do away with and not do away with because of this mobilization.
But when he says, you've already won on a lot of this, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's right, we have. And we have no power. We don't control a single branch of government, and yet they know the power because we are the majority. That's the key factor here. We are the majority. We're the majority at the voting booth. We're the majority of this country, and that's why they know they aren't going to get away with this.
One of the things, you have this 10-point plan about a sort of Trump resistance, and one of the things I really liked, or you talked about, was running for office yourself. And this is a thing...
Not myself, but everybody.
Everyone should think about doing this. So there's the runforsomething.net is a site I've seen put up that is trying to recruit people to do exactly this. I mean, one of the things, there was big news out of the Democratic Party of Virginia. They were going to field a candidate. This was the news. We're going to field a candidate for every race. It is shocking the degree of races that happen in this country at the local level, state rep, state senate, city council, that are just unopposed. There's just no one.
Totally. No,
there's just no one to run.
I live in one of those areas up in northern Michigan. I go into the voting booth, and there's a Democrat for Congress that's running, and then that's it. There was a Green running for county commission in one of the seats. That's it. It was all Republican, and I came out of there and said, this feels like a Soviet-style election. There's like, we only need one candidate. Why do you need two candidates? You know, I mean, but these Soviet-style elections occur.
And they happen in New York, I have to say, they happen in New York in the other direction. I mean, you have the Republicans not contesting huge swaths of the country.
When I had my show here on NBC, well, you know, real NBC over there.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
No,
thanks,
no. This is like spring training.
Yeah, okay.
You'll be doing the nightly news in 5 years, Lester. You know, when he retires.
Anyway, that was a great show.
But when I had my show here, we did Congressman Frelinghuysen out in New Jersey had not only had been primaried ever, never a Democrat running against him in like I don't know how many years. So I went out there and got on the ballot a ficus plant, and we ran the plant, the literal plant that you see at a doctor's office, against the congressman, and they wouldn't let us actually put the thing, so they had to do a write-in campaign. We went down to Trenton the night the Capitol to when they counted the votes, and they wouldn't let us. They took all the cameras out because the ficus tree was getting in some precincts as many votes as the congressman.
That's the thing is, you know, even in a district of people running unopposed, right? Contesting an election makes a huge difference.
Yes.
In terms of what issue gets discussed, and
so this is my point.
Yeah.
That people watching this, you got to think about running for office.
Right.
Don't leave it up to somebody else. This is why we're in the state we're in, because the genetic gene pool of politicians.
Well, look at that. Look, talk about an ace control room.
Yes.
Can we just give a shout out to the all-in producers here?
Oh my God! How did they do that?
Is that amazing?
I never mentioned that to anybody.
That's amazing.
Yes, there I am. I'm running, and I'm actually in the state capitol signing up this. And of course, she's like, "You're going to run this against the Congress?" And yes, I believe this plant can win.
The takeaway here is, if you're watching this, you're probably better qualified than the ficus.
You are, and you need to run not for Congress necessarily. Think of school board, city council, county commission. If you don't want to do any of those, run for precinct delegate.
Right.
Precinct delegate. You can go to the county convention. It's a commitment of 3 hours once a year.
So I want to talk about one of the interesting things about this mobilization that we watch is certain things I feel like I'm not surprised people mobilized around. Certain things have been sort of surprising. So one of the things I think that was really interesting and not surprising, but the level of mobilization against Betsy DeVos and the way that, you know, the Secretary of Education is generally not a super high well-known position.
Yeah. No, everybody knows her name.
Everyone knows her name.
Yeah.
Huge amounts of interest. Huge amounts of. I want to
quick name the Secretary of Education and George W. Bush. Yeah, I can't either. Don't worry.
Heather, what's her name?
Oh, okay,
nice
okay, all right.
Texas.
All right,
Margaret
you went to
Spelling.
college.
Margaret
All right. Not fair. You have a degree.
Ding. Yes, Margaret Spelling. Okay.
But you know what I'm saying. You're right. Nobody knew. Now everybody knows who she is and knows that we have a Secretary of Education that has never entered
the wiseacres in the control room telling me it was a ficus plant. So watch this. Watch Tom Cotton here get a question about Betsy DeVos, because it's interesting.
Wow.
Because it's the people just because that fight has ended.
Yeah.
It hasn't gone away.
It hasn't gone away. Wow. Where do we look?
My question deals with education. In your Facebook post supporting Betsy DeVos, you stated,
it seems like you've uncovered that Betsy DeVos may not be the most popular Secretary of Education here. So, I would, if you feel that strongly about the Secretary of Education, maybe the Department of Education has too much power.
Tom, that's the wrong takeaway from those jurors in the crowd. But you know what?
Points for ideological fidelity there, because I think that's, I guess, the sort of.
But he knew how to read the room.
Right.
He clearly got it.
Well, he got it pretty early on in that town hall. But it is.
Yeah.
But there's a situation where, you know, that there was real mobilization around her. It's sustained now, and. You know, it seems to me that this is something, if they try to do anything with education, they're going to, the capital accrues from previous fights to future ones.
Right. And that's why this mobilization is just beginning. As huge as it is, it's going to even get bigger and bigger. And in this thing you mentioned that I put online today and yesterday, that there's some very simple, quick, easy things that people can do. You don't have to give up your day job.
Right.
Just make that daily call to Congress. There's this app now called 5 Calls. You can get it at the App Store. It's free. And you get it, and it will actually, it pulls up all the numbers, it pulls up the issues of today that you should talk to them about, gives you some talking points, 5 calls. It will dial your member of Congress just by typing in your zip code. It'll dial it for you.
Cool.
It's like, it's so cool. There's so many other things like that that people should be doing, though. You know, join groups, you know, form regions of resistance, you know, just what Cuomo's doing here in New York. He announced free universal college for everyone. That's what he's going to push for. California's going to push for universal health care. There's blue states. Don't say you live in a blue state and I can't do anything.
Right.
No, you can show the rest of the country, just like New York and California did with Roe v. Wade. 3 years before Roe v. Wade, these 2 states made abortion legal. and made it the new normal and got the rest of the country used to it. That's what you
That's
can do
a
in
fascinating
Massachusetts and these other blue states.
I want to ask you a final question about the DNC race.
Yes.
I know you support Keith Ellison.
Yes. Yes.
The vote is going to happen soon. It seems very contested between Tom Perez and Keith Ellison. What are the stakes here to you?
They're huge. They're absolutely huge. The Democratic Party, and God love Tom Perez and all the old guard. Unfortunately, it's the old guard that's going to be doing a lot of the voting on Saturday for the DNC chair, but we need Keith Ellison. We need somebody from the Midwest, grew up in Detroit. We lost this by 77,000 votes. Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania. We needed
barely eked out Minnesota.
Barely eked out Minnesota, but Keith Ellison, he was now a congressman from Minnesota, went there, helped turn Minnesota from a red state to a blue state. He's got the organizing ability to do this. He needs to be the DNC chair. If the party's just going to go the same old way, losing twice in the last 16 years when we won the popular vote, but the Republicans got the vote. I'm done with that. Everybody else has to be done with it. DNC people, come on, do the right thing here. You got to do this. And I know we're out of time, and we don't want to go into Rachel's time like you did last night. I wrote you up.
Please continue.
Let me just say that I got this sweater at Nordstrom.
All right, Michael Moore, thank you for joining us. That is all for this evening. The Rachel Maddow Show starts right